Last week, I was talking to a friend of mine who was having a really, really, really rough time. And it made sense that she was having a really, really rough time. If I was experiencing the same things that she was experiencing, I would be having a rough time. And over the course of the conversation, we were on Zoom, I could just see on her face and hear in the tone of her voice as she went from sad to angry to disappointed to feeling undermined to wanting to fight back. And in the middle of it, at one point, she literally went, Gee, I'm really, really sorry that I'm being so emotional about this. And that was exactly the wrong thing for her to be saying in that particular moment. The reality is she was feeling the emotions that she was feeling, and the fact that she was venting was actually the healthiest way to do it. Today in the podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to continue my favorite phrase series, and I'm going to share with you one phrase that even if you just say it out loud in the middle of the day is going to make you feel so much better, and it is the perfect response to where she was. This is Gene Monterastelli, the editor of the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 557, originally aired May 3rd, 2023. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we are continuing my series on my favorite phrases. And these are phrases that we use as we are using tapping to be able to create a better emotional state, to be able to navigate the day in a better way. If you are new to tapping, if you look right up here right now, you're going to see a little link right there that will take you to learntotap.com, where you can learn the basics of tapping. But even if you don't understand tapping and you don't know what I'm talking about today, the topic that we're talking about and the phrase that I'm going to share with you is going to make a huge difference for you. As you navigate your day, it's going to make you feel more emotionally grounded. And most importantly, it's going to make the next moment easier so you make the choices that you're really, really happy with. So one of the things that's really important that we start out with is this understanding of the fact that the emotions that we are feeling are actually just pieces of information. And each of the emotions we feel convey a different piece of information. When I'm frustrated, what it is saying is my needs and my desires are not being met. When I'm angry, I'm perceiving an attack. When I'm anxious, I am seeing danger. When I'm overwhelmed, there's not enough resources for me to do what I want. When I'm feeling sad, it simply means that I'm disconnected from something that I love and is important. And years ago, when Gary Craig introduced his version of tapping, which he calls emotional freedom technique, EFT, it changed my life. My life is so much better, not just because of things like this that I'm creating, but my entry point into tapping was it transformed my social anxiety, which means it transformed my life. And Gary was the one that I learned the basics from. And so I will be forever in his debt for sharing that particular thing. And I can understand why he wanted to call it emotional freedom technique, because when you tap and you feel those emotions, the emotions go away and you are free of them. Except I don't actually think the goal is to be free of our emotions. I don't want to feel excess emotions. But again, because emotions are that information that's helping me to understand what's going on in my life, it's letting me know what my experience is. It's letting me know what is in front of me and how subconsciously I'm responding to that. And so the goal isn't to be free of our emotions, but instead our goal is to have a proportionate, well-informed emotional response. When a loved one dies, it makes sense that I am sad. When someone is undermining me and taking credit for my work, it makes sense that I feel a sense of indignation and anger, because that energy is helping me to stand up, to protect myself so I can take care of myself inside of that. And so the emotions themselves are not a problem. Like my friend who was apologizing for feeling those emotions. That's exactly where she was. She needed to hear those things. But just feeling the emotions is not enough. We need to engage with them in some way. And oftentimes I think about my emotional state kind of like a 6-year-old sitting in the back seat of the car. We are driving around and the 6-year-old's like, hey, 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 hey. And you go, yes. And the 6-year-old goes, windmill. And you're like, yes, that's a windmill. And the 6-year-old calms down because they've been acknowledged, they have been heard, and move along until they have the next idea that they want to share with us. Our emotions are no different. They're just pointing out, hey, 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 be aware, be on guard, be warned. danger, undermine, disconnection. But the goal is to have a proportionate, well-informed emotional response. It's appropriate for me to be devastated at the loss of a loved one. It's less appropriate for me to be devastated because I happen to drop a bite of food on the ground and I can't eat it because it's now dirty. I can be disappointed, but probably crying and being sad for 3 days doesn't make a lot of sense about that particular experience. And so the goal is not to eliminate our emotions, but to hear them as they come through. And so over the course of this series, and this is part 8 of my favorite phrases, we have been talking about different phrases that help us to get in touch with those emotions so that we can process them and we can move through them. And so today we're going to take one of the phrases that we introduced really, really early on, and we're going to twist it. So originally I shared with you, I give myself permission to. I give myself permission to be sad. I give myself permission to be overwhelmed. I give myself permission to take action, to believe in myself. Like giving ourselves permission is really, really useful. But this twist is a little different. So instead of giving myself permission, the phrase is, I give my emotions permission to be heard. Let me say that again. I give my emotions permission to be heard. And as I sit here and as I say that, like I am not tapping yet. I've not engaged with that tapping thing, which creates extra release. But simply saying that, I can just feel a little expansion in my chest. And so I want you to try that right now. If you know tapping, if you are comfortable with tapping, just tap on your collarbone with me. If you're new to tapping and you don't know what we're doing, you can tap on your collarbone or not. But I want you to repeat after me. I give my emotions permissions to be heard. Go ahead and say it out loud. Do it again. I give my emotions permission to be heard. Say it. Tune into your body, scan, notice what's going on. Where's the tightness? Where's the overwhelm? Whatever's going on in this moment. I don't know when you're listening to this, what it looks like. But again, if you want, tap on your collarbone, just repeat after me. I give my emotions permission to be heard. I give my emotions permission to be heard. And again, as I'm sitting here recording this, it's not like I've had a really rough day. There's a lot going on, but it's not like there's this huge emotional burden that I'm dealing with. And I've now said that phrase at least 4 times as we've been doing this. And each time, my chest expanded a little bit. I can notice that there's less tension through my shoulders and my neck. Because that information that's trying to come forward has been heard. And the system goes, I've been heard. And so this is my challenge for you. Over the course of the next week, if you have some sort of calendar, use your calendar. If not, find a way to do it. Stick a note on your mirror, put something somewhere to remind you of this. But once or twice a day, and you only need to say it out loud twice, what I want you to do is I just want you to say out loud, I give my emotions permission to be heard. And then don't scurry along. Just be present to that moment. Pay attention to what is going on. Because what that's going to do is it's going to make you feel better in the moment. And in the future, when the emotions are trying to get your attention, they're not going to be screaming as loud because they know that you are listening. There are going to be times where you're going to be a grumpopotamus. It's okay if you are a grumpopotamus because that's what we need to do to vent, to understand, to deal with what's going on. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to stay stuck in the emotion without it being processed. What we don't want to do is bottle the emotion up so it's creating this pressure inside of us so that when something small happens, all the emotion comes bursting out. That was me as a little kid. Small thing would happen, small thing would happen, small thing would happen. I wouldn't process any of it, and the emotion would build up inside of me, and one small thing would happen, and I would just turn into this crying mess. And it was overreaction for the moment, but it made sense if you knew everything that was bottled up inside. And so by saying, I give my emotions permission to be heard, we're just pulling that pressure release valve. We're just letting the emotion be heard and acknowledged. And we're not just dismissing it. We're not doing this just to get it out of the body. We're doing it to actually engage with it so we can be more aware and we can be healthier in the moment. So that's my invitation to you. Give that a try this week. Now, if you've enjoyed this, we actually have this long ongoing series on my favorite emotions or my favorite phrases. And this is number 8, which means we already have 7 other videos uploaded on your screen right now. You get an opportunity to click on that playlist. Go check out the list. Find these other phrases, jot them down, because if you're using them every single day, not even all of them, but just 1 or 2 of them, it is going to make your day and your emotional state so much easier. For Tapping Q&A, this is Monterastelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.